In the interwar period, Europe experienced growing tension due to mistrust among nations and territorial disputes. The Soviet Union and Nazi Germany, seemingly opposed in ideologies, surprised the world by signing the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact on August 23, 1939. This pact, also known as the German-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact, included secret clauses dividing Eastern Europe into spheres of influence, establishing temporary ties between two regimes that were, in reality, hostile to each other. The signing of the pact marked a radical turn in European geopolitics. Poland, caught in the middle, became the epicenter of this new alliance, facing a double threat. Lack of unity among Western powers and their attempts at appeasement allowed these machinations to take place, creating the conditions for the outbreak of World War II. However, this pact was only a prelude to the betrayal and aggression that lay ahead. To fully understand the Soviet invasion of Poland in 1939, it is essential to explore how this agreement laid the groundwork for the tragedy that would unfold in the weeks that followed.
The invasion begins.
On September 17, 1939, the Red Army, the powerful military force of the Soviet Union, crossed Poland's eastern border. This military move surprised the world and, particularly, the Polish population already grappling with the German invasion initiated on September 1st. The coordination between German and Soviet forces, though not perfect, sealed Poland's fate. The exhausted and weakened Polish army, already engaged in battle against the Nazis, now faced a new and overwhelming threat. The Soviet tactic involved massive troop mobilization and the use of overwhelming numerical superiority. Soviet tanks and infantry advanced swiftly, cutting through Polish lines in an attempt to secure their portion of the spoils as stipulated in the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. As Soviet forces advanced, a bitter truth was revealed. Poland was caught between two fronts, facing a double invasion that left it defenseless and exposed to the brutalities of war.
Strategies and battles.
The Soviet invasion of Poland in 1939 was marked by a series of military strategies showcasing the tactical prowess of the Red Army and the overwhelming logistical superiority of the Soviet Union. Soviet armored forces in particular played a crucial role in the campaign. The Soviet blitzkrieg, although less publicized than the German counterpart, proved equally devastating. The Battle of Szak is an emblematic example of Polish resistance against Soviet forces. Despite Polish tenacity, the overwhelming numerical superiority and the lack of international support left Polish forces in a precarious position. Resistance, though brave, faced enormous tactical and logistical challenges. As the invasion progressed, it became evident that the Soviet strategy focused on rapid mobilization and wearing down the enemy. The Polish front, already weakened by the German invasion, could not withstand the relentless assault of the Red Army.
Repression and Soviet occupation.
With the fall of major Polish defenses, the Soviet Union proceeded to occupy significant territories of Poland. Soviet occupation brought with it a wave of political and social repression. Polish institutions were dismantled and replaced by pro-Soviet administrations. The Polish population faced mass arrests, deportations, and summary executions. The brutality of the Soviet occupation manifested in the elimination of any form of resistance or dissent. Prisoner camps were established, and political purges were conducted to consolidate Soviet control. Polish authorities were systematically eliminated or sent to forced labor camps in Siberia. The Polish civilian population, already affected by the German invasion, now faced Soviet repression, creating an atmosphere of fear and distrust. Mass deportations to Siberia and other remote regions were carried out, leaving Polish families torn apart and deprived of their loved ones. In this climate of oppression, the first signs of Polish resistance against Soviet occupation began to emerge. Despite the Soviet repressive machinery attempting to quell any opposition, some brave individuals and clandestine groups began organizing to defy the imposed regime.
Polish resistance.
Despite challenging circumstances and the brutality of Soviet occupation, Polish resistance persisted. The need to preserve national identity and resist oppression led to the formation of clandestine groups and resistance movements. One of the prominent leaders of this resistance was General Michał Karaszewicz Tokarzewski. These groups, though facing immense logistical challenges and the constant threat of reprisals, carried out sabotage activities, gathered information, and engaged in acts of defiance against the occupying forces. Polish resistance sought not only to challenge occupation but also to keep alive the hope and national identity in a time of profound adversity. The collaboration between different resistance groups became an essential component to maintain the fight against Soviet occupation. These acts of courage and determination became symbols of Polish resistance, highlighting the ability of a people to resist even in the most adverse circumstances.
Consequences and historical oversight.
The Russian invasion of Poland in 1939 left a trail of devastation and change that would endure over the decades. The political, social, and cultural consequences of this invasion would resonate in the history of Poland and the world. Poland, divided between two occupiers, became a stage for internal struggles. The Polish population, already traumatized by successive invasions, found itself subjected to the brutality of two totalitarian regimes. The loss of sovereignty and repression led to the dismantling of Polish institutions and the loss of national identity. Collaboration between the Polish resistance and other anti-Axis movements during the occupation, such as collaboration with the French resistance or participation in the Battle of Britain, demonstrated that, despite adversity, the fight for freedom and dignity persisted in the hearts of the Polish people. However, the Soviet invasion often stood in the shadow of the German invasion in terms of historical recognition. World attention focused more on the atrocities of Nazism, overshadowing in part the violations and repression perpetrated by Soviet forces. This historical oversight contributed to a simplified narrative of World War II, where the complexity of temporary alliances and successive invasions was lost in collective memory.
Final reflections.
Although often overshadowed in historical narratives, the invasion of Poland in 1939 by Soviet forces serves as a somber reminder of the complexity of geopolitics and alliances leading up to World War II. The betrayal represented by the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact and the brutality of Soviet occupation underscore the fragility of peace and the ability of powers to manipulate the destinies of entire nations. Reflecting on this dark chapter, it is crucial to remember those who resisted bravely and those who, despite adversity, kept alive the flame of hope and dignity. The Russian invasion of Poland in 1939 is more than a forgotten episode. It is a call to understand the complexity of events that led the world into one of the most catastrophic conflicts in history. In their memory, we honor those who, amid the storm, fought for freedom and justice in a crucial moment of world history.